Pleased to have here on the Rich Eisen Show, Roger Goodell. Commissioner, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it.
Hey, Rich, glad to be with you.
What'd you think of last night? First up.
I thought it was fantastic. You said it was fascinating. I thought it was. I thought it gave our fans a glimpse into what Media Day is all about, brought it into prime time so we have more fans who had an opportunity to see it. I thought it was a fantastic night for our players and for our game.
Now, I know you like the Pro Bowl before the Super Bowl because you've said many times that you like the lasting image of the week and the year being the confetti coming down on a Super Bowl champion. Do you like the idea that there's something that you can put your hat on to say the week has started? Is that one of the things you liked about last night?
Yeah, I think when you open it's the opening of a great week. We're celebrating the game. We're celebrating two conference champions. We're playing in the biggest game of the year, I think, in any sport and on the planet. And I think it's a great platform on which to put our players and coaches. They've earned it. Yeah. And I think the fans love the opportunity. So yes, I think it's another way to extend the week of Super Bowl in a way that I think is very positive.
And news here in the Bay Area, if we just start opening up some of the news items involving the National Football League across the Bay from here. Mark Davis announcing today that the Raiders are going to stay put for the 2016 season. What can you tell us of what's going on behind the scenes for that announcement to be made and about the future of the Raiders, Commissioner?
Well, Rich, as you know, we're trying to keep our teams where they are. Any relocation is painful, and I said that. We lost the St. Louis market this year. While the Rams are going home, it's still a painful process. Fortunately, Dean Spanos made a similar announcement last week. He said he's going to play in 2016 and seek a long-term stadium solution for the Chargers and the San Diego community. And I spoke to Mark Davis yesterday, and he indicated he had a similar view, that he wanted to play the 2016 in Oakland. He wants to get a long-term solution in the Bay Area and the Oakland market. And so for us, I think this is a positive thing. It's a positive thing for our fans. We just have to work to try to get those long-term stadium solutions so the teams can continue to be successful in those markets.
Well,
they're great markets.
Yeah, of course, and everybody would love for them to stay. You know, the idea though that both owners have said, well, let's stick around for 1 year and see what can happen, is giving people some hope that there's been indications of maybe a framework of a deal being seen by both sides. Would that be a fair assessment to read into these announcements?
No, Rich, I wouldn't say that. I think what there is there's an understanding that the league is willing, and the ownership did this when we voted on the Rams relocation to Los Angeles, an additional $100 million, so $300 million into stadiums both in San Diego and Oakland. But the teams are going to have to step up, the league is going to have to step up, and the communities are going to have to step up to find real solutions. During the relocation process, it was clear that these communities said they don't have suitable stadiums for the long term. They acknowledged that. And they also acknowledged that there have been many failed attempts. Now we have to get a solution that we can approve, we can move forward on, and that will allow the teams to succeed. And I don't think that framework is anywhere near in place right now, other than I think there's an agreement that let's work towards it.
Commissioner Roger Goodell, the National Football League, here on the Rich Eisen Show. And one city that was thrown out there for a conversation or as a possibility for the Raiders to potentially relocate to is a certain desert town in Nevada, Commissioner. Is there any scenario under which the NFL membership would approve a move of a team to Las Vegas, Commissioner?
You know, ultimately, Rich, it's the ownership's decision. It requires 24 of the 32 owners to approve any relocation to any market. Obviously, there are specific issues that would need to be discussed in the context of Las Vegas. But I think it's way premature at this point to be speculating on that. There's no proposals. There's nothing firm in any way. So I think this is something that at some point it may come up, but for right now we're not focused on that.
Commissioner Roger Goodell here on the Rich Eisen Show. When do you get here? When do you get here to San Francisco?
I'm coming tomorrow morning. I can't wait. It's actually sort of difficult to be here in New York where we're busy, but seeing all the fun that's going on in San Francisco, I can't wait to be out there and participate.
Yeah, last time at the Super Bowl, there were a couple of items that were hot issues going on. One in which you had already made a decision, and one in which this table was being set for you to make a decision. I'd love to revisit with you. The first one being Ray Rice. How has the league, in your estimation, changed since Ray Rice 1 year later, Commissioner?
Well, the biggest thing, Rich, is that we've updated our policies and gotten the kind of skill set, the kind of people involved with our decision-making process that have that kind of expertise. We're no longer completely reliant on law enforcement. We support the work they do, but we have revised our personal conduct policy so that we have our own investigations and we have our own ability to evaluate it against our own personal conduct policy. So it may not be a violation of law, but it may be a violation of our personal conduct policy. And we've seen a dramatic change. We passed that a year ago, December, so December of 14. And this past year, we had the lowest level ever by about 40% reduction in player arrest. So it's having a positive impact. It's having a positive impact well beyond our players, even into our front office, where we hold them by the same standards, very high standards. That's what we expect in the NFL. So we have made the policy changes, the personnel changes, and I think there's a tremendous amount of awareness that's happening because of the education that we've been doing with the Players Association, with our teams. And I think people have really understood how to avoid these circumstances, these issues, and make good decisions. And that's what it really comes down to.
And then the other issue that was on your plate, or at least it was in the minds of everybody, including the news media, to say the least, last year, involved air and footballs and everything that was going on with the so-called DeflateGate. Did the league look into and measure footballs and PSI pressure throughout this year at all to look into the issue with a full year of study scientifically at all, Commissioner?
No, Rich, what the league did this year was what we do in a lot of rules and policies designed to protect the integrity of the game, and that's to create a deterrent effect, that we do spot checks to prevent and make sure the clubs understand that we're watching these issues. It wasn't a research study. Simply were spot checks. There were no violations this year, so we're pleased that we haven't had any violations and that we continue the work, obviously, to consistently and importantly enforce the integrity of the game and the rules that are designed there to protect them.
And in terms of Brady, have you had any contact with him at all? Just obviously what he means in the history of this game and for so many fans that are out there, and hard feelings definitely appeared to be something that comes from his camp, or at least it's assumed to be coming from his camp. Is there anything that you've done on that front, or care to do, or plan on doing on that front, Commissioner, at all?
Well, my first obligation, Rich, as you know, is to uphold the integrity of the game, and that's uphold the rules of the game and make sure that all 32 teams are operating under the same rules, all players are operating under the same rules, and you do that on a consistent basis. And so I have great admiration for Tom. I know him personally. Obviously, I respect his playing ability. He's an extraordinary player, a sure Hall of Famer, and I have nothing but admiration for him. But I have to make sure that we continue to do the things that are necessary to protect the integrity of our game, and I will do that without compromise.
And in that regard, there's that Al Jazeera report involving another Mount Rushmore quarterback that in Peyton Manning. Is the NFL investigating any of the leads, that so-called leads that might come from that piece currently?
Of course, Rich. I mean, as you know, that report involved allegations that we take very seriously. It were allegations well beyond any individual player, and we take those seriously. So we're working with law enforcement. We're working with the World Anti-Doping Association. We're working with Major League Baseball that was also involved with that to make sure that we investigate that seriously, fully, thoughtfully. And just like in any investigations, we allow the facts to come about. And that's where the focus is right now. We have players, obviously, and others that have committed their full cooperation, and that's important in the context of getting to the facts.
Commissioner Roger Goodell, a few minutes I have with you left here, and I appreciate you calling in on such a big week. Calvin Johnson is reportedly retiring, and the catch rule is still out there that we're still wondering that and he was involved in one of the biggest catch, non-catch issues. What's your take on the catch rule and the changes that are required to get things on the same page with everybody, including the fan base, Commissioner?
Well, Rich, this is something that I asked our officiating department and in cooperation with the competition committee to bring some experts into the office, and we've had 2 meetings with Hall of Famers, both on the playing side, from the general manager side, from the coaching side, and we've gotten with 2 separate sessions where we went through all of the catch, no catch plays. We looked at the rule. We looked at how it's been applied, how replay intersects with this. And I think what we heard from both groups collectively is that they're comfortable with the rule. We have to do a better job of communicating it. But what they all want to do is they want to see no cheap fumbles. They don't want to see any cheap catches. They want to see, players when they go to the ground, retain the ball, come up with the ball, and hand it to the official, and not leave any doubt about whether they caught the ball. And these are things that we're going to take to the competition committee. Ultimately, they'll evaluate the rule, make a recommendation to the membership. But I was very struck by the degree of focus by the individuals that came in here. They were incredibly insightful, and they helped us get to a place, I think, where we understand what's important in the rule. We need to make sure that we emphasize the important aspects of that rule and clearly communicate it to the public so that we can get the focus back on the field and allow these great players to do what they do out there.
Well, I've offered to make myself available not only to the catch committee, Commissioner, but during games, because I've seen enough to know what a catch is and what isn't. Not to be all
Rich,
brazen.
I've also seen you run the 40, so I haven't seen you. You catch yet, but I have seen you run the 40. So
yeah, I can Odell it every now and then. I can one-hand it, Commissioner. I can do that every now and then. But because it's just sometimes it is one of those things where it's just if it looks like it should be a catch. It's just difficult to codify. That's sort of like squaring that circle is what appears to be the conundrum here.
No,
right?
I think there are 3 elements to any catch, and the first element is obviously possession. The second element is 2 feet down, and the third element is time. And there are several factors that go into that. Replay now with super slow-mo and the way they can stop it, sometimes it distorts the length of time at which somebody controls the football. We spend a great deal of time focusing on that time element, and when you go to the ground, that's when the committee in the past, and I think these great players and general managers and coaches all talked about the fact that when you go to the ground, you should retain control of that ball, come up with the ball, and hand the ball to the official. And that is what a catch is. And in fact, Jim Schwartz, who was coach of Calvin Johnson at the time when that play occurred a few years ago, said as soon as he saw it on the replay board that he knew it wasn't a catch. Mm-hmm. And so I think coaches understand the rules. What we have to do now is obviously properly apply those rules and consistently apply those rules. Replay is an added element in here, which we have to figure out how that plays into the decision. But more importantly, I think we have to do a better job of communicating it publicly.
Would you be open to making everything reviewable? Just saying, you know what, let's just make everything reviewable. Let's not argue about what's reviewable, what's not. Let's just use replay. Because everybody sitting at home has it. Would you ever?
Rich, that's undoubtedly going to come up again. We've had that discussion, I think, every year for at least the last 5 or 6 years. I think there's a balance in there that you have to take into consideration is that, there is a pace to the game. While you want to get things correct on the field and officiating, our officials do a spectacular job, and our coaches would agree with this. If you get them away from the moment of any particular outcome, where a call may have gone in their favor or not gone in their favor, but the speed of the game and the quality of the officiating, I think, is really at a very high level. But we're going to continue to try to improve it. That includes using replay. And if we can use replay effectively to fix the obvious areas, that's what it was intended to do. We're going to do that. But I don't think the game is ever going to be perfectly officiated. It's impossible. And a lot of these calls, as you know, are controversial because they're so close. There are people on both sides. And that's going to happen. And as technology gets better, it's going to happen even more. But I'm proud of the work our officials do, but we're going to continue to work and see what we can do to improve efficiency.
Last one for you, Commissioner. One of the most accurate kickers in the league missed an extra point in a monster spot in the AFC Championship game. Is that, I'm not saying that you and the league put together pushing the extra point back far enough was so there could be a moment like that, but it did work out in that manner. Is this what the league was looking for in changing the extra point?
Well, I don't think it was specifically looking for any outcome in any specific games. Obviously, what we were looking for, Rich, was to make a play that, quite frankly, had been ceremonial. Our accuracy rate was 99.6%. The kickers have gotten so extraordinarily good. What we wanted to do is put some more risk into that play and some more competition and focus, and we did that. Our success rate dropped to about 94%, which is exactly where we thought it would be based on the analysis. And I think it brought back a play that, as I say, was people had taken for granted, and it now has an impact on the outcome of games. And it happened at a very high degree this year, where we saw a lot of missed kicks. And I think that's good for the game. I think it's good to create excitement with every play. We don't want any play not to have the potential for some impact on the outcome of a game. That's not what creates the excitement that our game brings.
Commissioner, thank you so much for the time.
You bet, Rich.
Have a safe flight, and we'll see you out here.
Look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
Same here. That's Commissioner Roger Goodell of the National Football League here on The Rich Eisen Show.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.